whether we like it or not, the 21st century is going to be the century of Asia. I mean, it's already happening, especially because of what's happening in China. But there are a few billion people in Asia. They're all smart, save their money, work hard, and save for the future and love investing. And if they start a successful company, many people will invest in that company. I mean, you heard of Sony, for instance. When I was a kid growing up, Japanese cars were a joke. Japanese motorcycles were a joke. Not anymore. The world changed a lot, and the world learned, and the world adjusted. And that's going to continue. As far as I can see, next few decades are going to be the decades of Asia. Yes, other places will do well, but the future is Asia. I read the same press you do, and I can see that there are various and sundry small wars. But if you look back in the past, that's how big wars started. There would be a small war here and a small war there, and people would ignore it. And the next thing you know, those small wars turned into big wars. Today look terribly similar to what happened before the Second World War, when all these small countries were hitting at each other. And the next thing you knew, it was out of control. Now, I hope it doesn't get out of control again, because if we have another war, oh my gosh. But you know as well as I do that we have a war in Ukraine right now. We have a war in various other places. So I am not optimistic that we're going to avoid wars, certainly in your lifetime. History shows that when you had two top powers and one stable or stagnant and maybe even declining, they have often clashed. I'm not suggesting America and China will be at war, but they have often in the past done so just because politicians always want to hit somebody else and show how tough they are, and conceivably that could happen. And I don't know why Washington thinks they have to control the world. I don't know why they think they have to put sanctions on everybody. I don't know why we have to have trade wars, but somebody in Washington thinks that's good. The United States has been around since 1776. In all but 19 years since then, we have been at war with somebody. There's been a small war, big war, some war somewhere. I don't particularly like it. It doesn't do us any good. But conceivably, if America and China work together as we did for 20 or 30 years, China made a lot of money, we made a lot of money, everybody would be better off. I hope that happens again. I have sold my shares in most countries. I'm still long Uzbekistan, and I hope I will buy more Uzbekistan. I still am long China. Nearly every stock market in the world has had an all-time high or near an all-time high. Now, I've been around long enough to know that when everybody is making a lot of money, somebody better look out the window and get worried. So I look out the window and I'm getting worried. Just too much happiness, too much good times, too much money around the world. What always happens is everybody gets very happy. Many new people get drawn into the markets. Lots of, young people, they call their friends and say, I've discovered this new thing called the stock market, and it's fun. You can make money, and it's easy. Not just in the U.S., just about everywhere. Look at Japan. The Japan market was down for 35 years. That's not a typo. Now it's making all-time highs. So just about everybody in the world has joined in now. And who knows what's going to happen. But I've been around long enough or read enough to know that when everybody is making a lot of money and everybody's piling in, it usually means things are going to go bad soon. Now, I have not started selling short because the madness doesn't seem enough yet, but I am certainly very worried. At one point, I did a genius move. I tripled my money when everybody else was losing their shirts. Needless to say, I knew I was the best there was, and 6 months later, I lost it all. So the market has a habit of teaching you what you don't know, and that's what I would say to new investors, young people. Be very worried, be very careful. And what I learned was, while I knew a lot, the thing I didn't know at that time was much about trading. I knew about fundamentals. I could do great research, but I didn't know much about trading. I assumed everybody knew what I knew. I found out very quickly they didn't. And it cost me money because they invested on what they thought and what they knew. So my advice to everybody is, please don't listen to other people. Don't listen to hot tips. Avoid hot tips and invest only in what you yourself know a lot about. Now, I tell some people this and they say, well, that's boring. And my advice is be boring. If you want to be a successful investor, don't worry, be boring, and you'll probably be successful. Well, I own silver. Here's some right here, just to prove it to you. But I mean, you know as well as I do that gold is making all-time highs, and silver's still down 40 or 50% from its all-time high. Now, they often move together. They move in tandem at times. So, in my view, buying something that's down 40 or 50% from its all-time high is better than buying more gold. So it's that simple. I know from history, and you too, that the world's going to have problems again of some kind, whether we like it or not. And when the world has problems, I mean, I'm an old peasant. I'm from the backwoods of Alabama. I know when there's a problem, it's nice to have some gold under the closet, have some silver in the closet, because no matter what, many people will turn to gold and silver in times of turmoil. I hope I'm smart enough never to sell my gold and silver. I hope I'm smart enough to buy more in the future. Could be a hot investment idea, but it's certainly insurance if nothing else. Argentina, 150 years ago, was the great success story in the Western Hemisphere. You know, people in Paris, if somebody rich came in, people would say, oh my gosh, that guy's as rich as an Argentinian. Argentinians were unbelievably rich at times in history. They've also been unbelievably poor at times and bankruptcy. They have politicians at times worse than we do. And that's hard to believe that anybody could have politicians worse than we do. But at the moment, the people running Argentina are doing a very good job. My only problem is I've seen this before. I've certainly invested in Argentina at times. I don't have anything there. I admire what he's trying to do. I hope he can pull it off. My problem is there have been 4 or 5 times in the last 100 years when Argentina has done extremely well and then collapsed. I'm not predicting it's going to collapse again. I'm just reminding people this has happened before. I guess I'm not smart enough. I have never figured out the rationale or the logical use of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. They're great trading vehicles. I know a lot of people who trade them. Of course, many of them have already disappeared and gone to zero. But if you're a trader, it's wonderful. I am not a trader. I don't particularly like it. I'm not any good at it because of that. So I do not have, long or short, any cryptocurrencies and never have. One of the things I learned was that I love adventure, and so that has certainly shaped me. Yes, if you can propose adventure to me that's going to be educationally well, one of the great things about travel is seeing the world. You learn a huge amount about the world and therefore about yourself too. So I will tell you, if you have the time and the money, I encourage everybody to do as much travel as you can. You don't have to go first class. You don't have to stay in 5-star hotels. There are lots of ways to travel the world, but you will be astonished how much you will learn about yourself and about the world. And if you're an investor, you will probably also find some good investors, because you will see things and you'll say, oh my gosh, look at that. How do I invest in that? You won't see that sitting in your apartment in New York.